All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Run Amok. I'm your host, Javen Takar, of course. And again, we are literally just like a couple days away from the NFL draft, one of the most exciting nights in sports history, period. And I haven't done a mock draft by myself yet. So, I've got if you've been tuning into the Sunday show, which we've missed last week, I apologize. We did a mock 1 through 15. We haven't done the part 2 yet, but that's in the works. Hopefully this week, obviously it has to be. But I haven't done, every year I've done at least 1 or 2 on my own. And today's the day. So welcome. A little later than I normally do, I feel like. But I feel like I have a lot more knowledge on these players than I typically do as, I'm getting through the motions of this whole stuff. Lots of fun. Okay, so lots of fun to be had. We're going picks 1 through 32. Hey, we may even talk about number 33 with Carolina, just because I think that they're in a fun spot. Okay, so let's just dive right in. For my listeners on Spotify, I know you on YouTube, you see me. Hey, hi, hello. But those listening that aren't able to see all of the hard work that I'm putting in on the visuals that I edit and make sure you can see, setting up the camera, make sure you can see everything, make sure I'm in frame. Hey, I'm glad to be back in your ears, in your car radio. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can skip ahead a little bit. But if you're listening, hi. I was looking over my Spotify, episodes, and I was like, dang, man, I really miss just pure podcasting. So, doing it both again. And if you are listening in the car or biking or you're walking around your neighborhood or whatever else you might be doing where you're listening on Spotify, hey, feel free to go on the YouTube and take a look at the visuals. Take a look at my pretty face. Maybe drop a like, leave a comment if you're from Spotify. And okay, enough blibber blabber. Let's go on into the Run Amok mock draft 1.0, I guess, kind of. We'll call it the 1.0 just because the other one was a mixed mock with my other co-hosts. But this is purely me. So, 101, the Chicago Bears. This is probably the easiest to predict. It's going to be Caleb Williams at USC. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to be Caleb Williams. I've already talked about a lot of the quarterbacks. I've talked about all the quarterbacks that I'm picking. In my previous episode where I discussed the top 5 quarterbacks in this class, in my opinion. So I'm not going to spend too much time discussing these quarterbacks because I've already kind of talked about their fits. I've talked about what I've thought about them. And so, go and listen to that. Go watch it on the YouTube where I go over all the quarterbacks. It's kind of a longer episode, but I think it's worth it. I put a lot of work into it. Watched all these quarterbacks. And so, Caleb Williams is going to the Chicago Bears, and it's going to be absolute fireworks. Second overall, I know there's a lot of buzz around Jaden Daniels here. I even seen J.J. McCarthy getting mocked here, which is ridiculous. I'm going Drake May. I feel like he would just work in Washington a little bit better with Dan Quinn than Jaden Daniels would. However, I do like Daniels, and if he does get picked here, I'm not going to complain. Speaking of Daniels, I do have him going 3rd overall to the New England Patriots, which, again, if you watch the previous video, you know I don't love, and I feel like it would be an absolute dumpster fire. And if I'm New England, I either consider taking Marvin Harrison or trading this pick, because I'm sure Minnesota is going to be on the phone. They're going to be knocking down the door. And I would pick up, I would, and then take one of the other bridge quarterbacks later on. Honestly, I probably should have done that in this mock because, speaking of Minnesota, I did have them trading with the Arizona Cardinals and picking J.J. McCarthy. Yes, that is 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. I don't know if it's ever been done, but this class is pretty talented. I think that Minnesota, hey, they signed Sam Darnold. He's not a starter at this point in his career, but he could mentor J.J. McCarthy really, really well, who I think would do really, really well in that Minnesota system. And again, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, though, I'm calling and I'm offering the house everything but the kitchen sink to the New England Patriots to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever's there. But if New England doesn't pick up the phone for whatever reason, then yeah, okay. McCarthy is fine to settle for. Do I think he's worth trading up for? Do I think he's worth a top 5? Heck, I don't even think he's worth a top 10 pick. But in this case, I do believe that, it's going to be between Minnesota and the Denver Broncos. One of them is going to bite the bullet on J.J. McCarthy, and somebody's an overpay for him. Alrighty, and then, so yeah, those are first 4 flying off the board quarterbacks. And then, number 5, the Los Angeles Chargers. I feel like they're in a spot, and I know all the rumors. They want to trade out. They want to trade back. They don't want to pick at number 5. But when Marvin Harrison Jr. falls to you at number 5, you gotta take him. And I think that if the Patriots take Marvin, sure. If you're the Chargers, trade down. But if Marvin's on the board, there's no way you don't pick him up. You lose Mike Williams. You lose Keenan Allen. Who are we relying on? Quentin Johnston? Okay. No. So yeah, go on ahead and get Marvin Harrison, and you've got a solidified wide receiver 1, potential rookie of the year candidate that's going to work really well with Justin Herbert. Bang! Bang! 6th overall pick, the Giants. They're probably a little sour. They wanted Marvin Harrison. I got him going Malik Neighbors. Can't complain too much about Neighbors. Chris Sprouts, great hands. He'll do great things with the New York Giants, who have been desperate for a wide receiver 1 since Odell left. You go on ahead, you get Neighbors, and you roll with Daniel Jones 1 more year. See what he's got with the elite receiver. Ooh, am I crazy calling a rookie receiver elite? I hope not. I think Malik Neighbors is that good, though. And yeah, I think that Dable would have a lot of fun with him. And then at number 7, the Tennessee Titans, they need O-line help. They're going to go on ahead. They're going to get Joe Alt, who's probably the best offensive tackle candidate. I know there's a lot of really good offensive tackles. Joe Alt, dude's built like a tight end. He moves really, really well. I'm a big Joe Alt fan. And then, yeah, now the Titans need Joe Alt and Peter Skoronski on that O-line. That would be a lot of fun. And then you've got, of course, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears running behind that line. Protect Will Levis. Receiving corps could use some help. I think if Neighbors is on the board, maybe you could consider taking that guy. Because, of course, you've got D-Hop, who's similar to Roma Dunze, who, we're getting to. But whatever. We're not talking about what the Titans are going to do in depth here. I got him going Joe Alt, the best O-lineman on the board, because they need O-line help. And then Dallas Turner going at 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. They need an edge rusher. And I think that, yeah, Dallas Turner is, in my opinion, the best pass rusher in this class. I'm a big fan of him. When was the last time the Atlanta Falcons had an elite edge rusher? What was it? Dwight Freeney? Old Dwight Freeney? I mean, Grady Jarrett was pretty solid, I guess. He's more of an inside guy. And yeah, I think that your offense is fully loaded. You got Kirk Cousins, you got Bijan Robinson, you've got an elite receiving core. Just go on ahead and get the dang best pass rusher and build up that defense. Roll Tide! Alrighty, and then at number 9, I actually had the Arizona Cardinals trading back up, which is not crazy. We saw them do it last year. Is it kind of crazy to predict them to do it 2 years in a row? Maybe. But when you've got Roma Dunze on the board, you go for it, buddy. And yeah, so the Bears are at this position originally at number 9, who maybe they do draft Roma Dunze and they stay, and you've got, the best quarterback in this class, and then the 3rd best receiver who's still pretty dang good in a Dunze. But I think that the Cardinals can offer some good stuff. They do have a pick later on in the first round where I believe it's 23. Yeah, it's gonna be 23. They had that pick. I didn't have them trading pick 23, but they very well might have to. to get to move up here, depending on how much the Bears value that pick. I was really hoping that the Bears would land Dallas Turner. I say that as this is my mock. I could have made it happen if I wanted to. Of course, the Falcons can always mess up the pick and they can go O-line, or they can go a Dunze and go crazy. Who knows what the Falcons do? Or the Bears trade up with the Falcons and then they take Dallas Turner. I would really hope that the Bears get Dallas Turner. You get the best quarterback and then one of the best defensive prospects in this class. But no. I got the Falcons, or not the Falcons, I got the Cardinals trading up to get Rome Odunze, which I think would be really nice for Kyler Murray. He's a receiver, again, I mentioned it earlier, like DeAndre Hopkins, very good, contested, he's hard to cover, and I think that that's the type of guy that Kyler can really benefit with. We saw the production he had with DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like it would be a really good fit. Rome Odunze in Arizona. It's also something I don't really see a lot of people talking about. But if the Cardinals do trade down from number 4, missing out on Marvin Harrison Jr., I feel like that they're gonna still want one of the receivers with either Neighbors or Odunze, whoever's on the board, trading up to go and get him. So not a bad idea. It is also a stacked receiver class though, so they could even sit at 11 where the Vikings originally are, and even trade back down and pick up one of the second tier guys. Anyways, moving on, number 10, the New York Jets. I got him going Talise Fuaga. Talise Fuaga is so fun of a prospect. I'm hearing he's got a little bit stiff hips, but he's got that versatility to play tackle. He can play right tackle, left tackle, right guard, guard. He might even be able to play some center if you need him to. Very Elijah Vera Tuckery, who is also on that Jets O-line. The Jets O-line is desperate of help to protect Mr. Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, I definitely could see this being a great fit for Fuaga and for the Jets. Bang, bang, bang. Versatility is key and also a big theme in this O-line class. And number 11 overall, where we had first was the Vikings, then it was the Cardinals. Cardinals traded up. It's going to be the Chicago Bears. They're going to go ahead and get the second best edge rusher in this class, Jared Verse. I think that this is very realistic. If you're sitting at 9, the Falcons ahead of you take Dallas Turner, you could take Verse right there. I don't think Verse is worth a top 10 pick. I think he's worth number 11 though, especially gaining more assets from the Arizona Cardinals. That way, you got some more, and you also, Verse, I've seen people say that Verse is their edge 1. Verse is still very talented. I'm not mad at Jared Verse. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think the Bears could use another edge rusher beside Montez Sweat, and I think that Verse could benefit really well playing alongside an elite pass rusher like Montez Sweat. Now, this is where it gets a little bit controversial, and I might get a lot of hate from this pick right here. The Denver Broncos missed out on Williams, May, Daniels, and McCarthy. What do they do if it's not quarterback? I have no idea what the Denver Broncos do here. I was sitting there and pondering. Do they go Brock Bowers? Do they go with cornerback aside from Patrick Surtain? Do they go, offensive line? Do they go edge rusher? Do they trade down? What would be the benefit of trading down? Which I do think is probably the most likely aspect from this. I think somebody probably trades up for one of the cornerbacks, or maybe even Brock Bowers. Of course, Brock Bowers, he's slipping down this board. I didn't know what the Broncos do, so I ended up picking Michael Penix Jr., 12th overall, which is, it is crazy. It's crazy. And Denver fans are typing away. If they're driving and listening, they're gripping their steering wheel. And I get it. But listen, I just don't really know what else the Denver Broncos do. This is more of a hypothetical pick, what I think the Broncos would do in the second round. Realistically, if all the quarterbacks are gone here, I think that the Broncos should just auction off this pick and trade it away. Get it out of there and just go have fun with it. Whatever, who cares? But yeah, terrible. I apologize, Denver fans. I really don't know what else the Broncos do if not for a quarterback. The Las Vegas Raiders, very in an interesting situation. They also kind of need a quarterback, but after Penix, the fall off is really big in my opinion, especially there's Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler. I had them going cornerback out of Toledo, Quinion Mitchell. I'm a big fan of Quinion Mitchell. I like his aggressiveness. I like the way he plays. The Raiders, I mean, who do they even have at cornerback? Who do they really have on that defense besides guys on the D line? I think it would be a very well-needed boosted juice in that secondary in the silver and black. Also going with the quarterback, though, in the second round, maybe a Bo Nix type, a guy that's a little smarter that can compete with Gardner Minshew and AOC. I like this pick. I like it. I do. Alrighty, number 14, the Saints going with, I can't pronounce his name. We're going to say Olu Fashanu. I believe that's how I've heard people say. Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. He is a mean, nasty man. Real heavy hands. He's got a strong punch and a well-needed boost to the Saints offensive line. Another team that's got a lot of holes. It's kind of tough to predict where they go. They might also go edge rusher here. I know in our mock draft on the Sunday show, I had them going originally Brian Thomas, and then I was clowned for it. And then I had them going Jared Verse. Of course, Verse isn't on the board at this time now. I think that Fashanu is pretty realistic. Fashanu might even go a little earlier than this. Fashanu can also honestly go to the Raiders even. The Raiders could use some O-line help. But I think this is a great pick for the Saints. I do. And then number 15, here is where the slide for Brock Bowers stops. Leading them is Colts selecting Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. Really, really good tight end prospect. He's a guy that could go top 10. He's a guy that if the Chargers do end up trading out of number 5, they could pick Bowers, and that would be like a really, really good pick. And yeah, I think that he would work really well with the Saints. Good run blocker, only good, but great after the catch, a great receiver in itself. Very Kittley, very George Kittley, and he would be a huge benefit, a huge help for Anthony Richardson coming back from his injury. Alongside Michael Pittman. That Indianapolis Colts has got a lot of potential. They're going to be very fun to watch. And then at number 16, the Seattle Seahawks. This might be one of my favorite picks of this entire draft. The Seahawks going tackle out of Washington, Troy Fautanu. Troy Fautanu is my favorite offensive lineman in this class. Point blank, period. I hope my 49ers, of course, see the flag there. Trade up to go and get him. The guy can, again, we talked about how versatility is key. The guy can play it all. He can play guard. He can play tackle. He's kind of built more like a guard in the NFL level, but he very well could play tackle. The Seahawks need some O-line help. Of course, they've got Geno Smith. They've got their weapons. Defensively, they could also go defense here, but the other guys kind of really worth drafting are secondary or edge rushers. Now, the Seahawks could potentially use an edge rusher like Leatu Latu, Chop Robinson, but I just feel like they don't really need much secondary help. I know they got rid of Quandre Diggs, so maybe they go with Cooper DeJean to play safety. I think that they can use some O-line help more than they need secondary defensive help, especially with Coach McDonald there now. Coach McDonald, I think that he can work with what Seattle's got and probably get a linebacker that he really likes later on in the draft. I love that pick, though. I love it. Number 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I also like this pick. Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. Roll Tide! Roll Tide! A great cornerback. This cornerback class is really, really special. Cornerback is a very big positional need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A team that's kind of bouncing off kind of a upsetting, a letdown season. You kind of just hope for the best. You hope that this guy's going to boost the defense. And yeah, I don't know about the Jaguars next season. Honestly, I truly don't. Now, here's again where I'll get some hate for it. Number 18, I had the Cincinnati Bengals going Byron Murphy out of Texas to fill in that gap that DJ Reader left. Obviously, they don't really need much offensive help. They could go offensive line. They could always use offensive line help. But I think that you got to focus on that defense in the stacked AFC with powerhouse offenses. You got to build a strong defense to stop to stop it, to slow down all the Patrick Mahomes. You got the rise of CJ Stroud. You've got Josh Allen. You got Lamar Jackson. You got to stop these powerhouses so you get a big guy up the middle. And that being said, it's not exactly the greatest pick in the world because we've got what's his name? I know I left a guy on the board who was really, really good, and I know I feel like a lot of the people are going to get mad at me for leaving him on the board. Johnny Newton. Johnny Newton is the guy that I left off this first round. Spoiler alert. They're ranked similarly. This guy, he could go Johnny Newton, you could go Byron Murphy. I personally, hand in the air, I haven't watched either of them. I went with Byron Murphy just because of what I've heard. I trust Texas guys a little bit more. But it very well could go Newton in this pick as well. And Newton is probably a first-round pick, by the way. Newton is a first-round pick. And Murphy probably could slip in here too as well. I unfortunately only had time. I only was able to fit one of them in. And so I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Johnny Newton. You got left off the Run Amok mock draft. But, I'm sure he's going to be great. And, hey, if the 49ers take you, I wouldn't be upset about it. I'm sure he's a beast. Alrighty, so enough about that. Enough about me apologizing for the pick that I chose. Number 19, the Los Angeles Rams, going with the UCLA edge rusher Laiatu Latu. Many have as their edge one again, but their injury concerns are there. I've seen guys like Stay Hot have them going super early. Guys with these injury concerns always slip. We saw with Jordan Phillips. We saw with Caleb Farley. Laiatu Latu is that guy this year who's going to slip because of injury concerns. And he's going to fall with the Los Angeles Rams, who also the Rams could go Johnny Newton. Of course, Aaron Donald retired. That's a pretty big hole to fill. Johnny Newton's not going to fill that hole. Laiatu Latu's not going to fill that. No one is going to fill that hole. But they'll help. They'll help that defense that desperately is going to need help. I'm a big fan of Laiatu Latu, though. He was a beast in that USC game. He was just killing Caleb Williams, man. Caleb was struggling back there. That O-line could not give him a second. Laiatu Latu's a beast, though, and he is going to help the Rams tremendously. 20, I had the Pittsburgh Steelers going J.C. Latham. He's a Bama guy. I feel like that Tomlin would like that. Roll Tide. And then 21, Miami Dolphins. This is a bit of a reach. Graham Barton. Hear me out, though. I think that Barton is a great fit in this Shanahan system. The way he's able to move, his athleticism, again, that versatility. He can actually play 1 through 5. Right tackle, right guard, center. Center is a big one. Left guard, left tackle. And he just fits the Shanahan scheme so much. I can see him absolutely going in this tail end. There's the Dolphins, there's the Packers, and then there's the 49ers. I can absolutely see him falling in line into any one of those teams. In this case scenario, it is the Miami Dolphins, the first team up top for an opportunity at Graham Barton. Another guy who I thought would be interesting for the Miami Dolphins is who I picked next. The Philadelphia Eagles picking cornerback Nate Wiggins. Obviously, the Dolphins love speed. Wiggins is the fastest cornerback in this class. Going to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that desperately needs secondary help. They've got Darius Slay. They've got James Bradbury. And I are tossing in a speedster in that lineup. Ooh. I like it. I do. I think that Nate Wiggins is going to be a solid cornerback in the league. A little bit light, though, but I think that the Philadelphia Eagles could kind of cover that up a little bit. And also, hey, he fits kind of the Eagles culture in the way that they don't tackle very well. Sorry. Alrighty. 23, the Arizona Cardinals. So this pick was actually the Vikings that they got in the Vikings trade. I think I said that this is their original pick, and they got in the Texans trade. That's actually 27. So 23, I got the Cardinals going Kool-Aid McKinstry, another cornerback out of Bama. Roll Tide. I'm a big fan of Kool-Aid. He's been slipping off boards a little bit. I've been seeing him falling in the second round. I think that he's still a first-round guy, especially with how, dire cornerbacks are. He, again, is a little bit more physical. And, hey, the Cardinals are a team that they've got a lot of dang holes. But now you've got 3 first-round picks in a very talented class. You can fill in a lot of those holes. And Kool-Aid would fill in that secondary hole tremendously. And then the Dallas Cowboys at pick number 24. Another one of my favorite picks. Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. The Cowboys. This is a great pick. I know that Jackson Powers Johnson has some injury concerns as well. But overall, he's a great prospect, a great interior O-lineman. They lost a couple of their guys. I think they lost their center, dang it. And that's pretty big to lose a reliable center. But Powers Johnson really has the potential to be a franchise center to have for years on end, as long as he stays healthy. He's a guy that if I'm a Dallas fan, I'm happy with him. And he passes the name test, dang it. Jackson Powers in your name as an offensive lineman is, oh my goodness. Yeah, I love this pick. And I think that it would work really well for the Dallas Cowboys. Just to open up that run game a little bit, protect Dak a little bit. I'm a big fan of it. 25, the Green Bay Packers, Amarius Mims. Just a beast. Offensive tackle out of Georgia. He is a big mambo jumbo. I'm a big fan of Mims. A little bit more prospecty, but I think that the Packers can afford to get a little bit of a prospecty type of guy. They lost David Bakhtiari. I think that I believe he's a right tackle. He can play some left tackle. I'm sure of it. But I mean, he's got just the standard prototype that you want in a offensive tackle. He is a mean, big giant, and I guess going to the Packers, he'd be a big, mean, green giant. And I love this pick. I love this guy, and I'm a big fan of him going to the Green Bay Packers. Again, for his size, super athletic. Talking about that Shanahan system, he's a guy that's going to get out there on those zone blocks, and he's going to be knocking heads off bodies. 26, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cooper DeJean. They lost Carlton Davis. He's listed as a safety here on Pro Football. Pro Football Network. Listed as safety. I think that they probably use him as a cornerback, though. They need some cornerback help. Another team where there's a lot of holes. Not very many picks to fill all those holes. They got to retain Mike Evans. Otherwise, I would have probably had them going receiver here. But losing Carlton Davis, you want to fill that secondary hole before it gets exploited, because the secondary, very, very valuable. This is again a class. I already said it. Very rich cornerbacks, and it's such a position of need. It's such a dire need for so many teams. You want to stack up when you can. And so, yeah, Cooper DeJean coming at 26. I think that's really solid value, too, for the Buccaneers. And I'd be pretty happy with that pick. And then back to the Arizona Cardinals now at pick number 27. I got Chop Robinson. I know people are kind of off the Chop train. I'm all on it. Chop Robinson, no pun intended. No pun intended, be chopping all these offensive linemen's hands off, it seems. He's just such a beast. Again, the Cardinals, a team with a lot of holes. They could use a really solid edge rusher that I think Chop Robinson could develop into. I think that this is a great pick. And if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, I'm walking away with, in my opinion, an A draft. Maybe even an A+. Roma Dunze, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Chop Robinson. And then at pick number 28, the Buffalo Bills. You traded away Stephon Diggs. What you going to do about it? You're going to go ahead and get Brian Thomas Jr. Why not? Really, really good receiver out of LSU. More of a jump ballsy type of guy. His route running, isn't as crisp as Stephon Diggs was. But I think he's a guy that Josh Allen would love. We know how reckless Josh Allen can be with the football. Just, But now you've got a guy that can actually catch those contested catches that are just kind of thrown up there. You got a guy that you can kind of just trust, especially if they do build that quarterback receiver trust. And this could be a nasty duo. Yeah, Brian Thomas should be really happy in Buffalo as well. Working with Sean McDermott, working with Josh Allen, of course. I think that this is a match made in heaven. But a receiver that I think is sneaky better, Adonai Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell. I got him going 29 to the Detroit Lions. I'm not too sure why I'm not seeing more people mock a receiver to the Lions. Have you seen the depth chart? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond? Who? And who? Even Jameson Williams is iffy as a receiver too. You go and you get A.D. Mitchell, and you're pairing him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you still got Jameson Williams. No disrespect to Williams, but that's a really, really good receiving core there. This is also a team that could potentially go offensive line, but they just had one of the best units in the entire league. People saying edge rusher. I think that's a little overblown. They got Hutchinson, they got DJ Reader, they got a couple guys for that D line. And in the situation that they're in, there's no real guy that's worth getting. I know there's Demarcus Robinson still on the board. I don't know if he's worth that pick 29, especially with A.D. Mitchell on the board. I'm a big fan of A.D. Mitchell, and I think that he would be so good in the Motor City. Jared Goff throwing it to Amon-Ra, Mitchell, Williams, with Montgomery and Gibbs in the backfield with a top 5 offensive line. This could really be the best offense in the league for the Detroit Lions. I mean, I really hope this pick actually happens. This is one of my favorite picks, indeed. And then at number 30 now, A.D. Mitchell, if he doesn't go to Detroit, I could see him going here to Baltimore Ravens. But otherwise, I got the Ravens going Keon Coleman, who I don't want to say he's the next best thing. Honestly, he's not, in my opinion. We got three receivers going back to back to back. But he's the type of guy that the Ravens could work with. You've got a route runner in Rashad Bateman. I guess Odell is a free agent now. I think that Keon Coleman, getting that contested catch type of guy. I mean, all these receivers are kind of similar in build in the way that you can trust them in one-on-ones. You can trust them with a guy on their back. And I think that the Ravens are always mocked to get a receiver early, but they never really do. I guess they got Bateman that 1 year. Maybe they don't do it again and they go on ahead and they get offensive linemen. Or they could even go defense. Regardless, I think that Coleman, I've seen people again mock him in the second round. I could very well see him slipping here at 30 if the Ravens like him as much as I do. I guess I kind of like him. I'm not a hater towards Coleman. I do think that Mitchell is better than him. I might even think Xavier Legette is better than him, but I don't think that he's a bad prospect. And I think that he would work well with the Ravens again, as I was saying. Somebody that they need. Pick number 31, the San Francisco 49ers. Honestly, if this is the board left, I'm pretty upset. I had them going Tyler Guyton, the tackle out of Oklahoma. I'm not the biggest Tyler Guyton fan. I would really prefer somebody else, pretty much anybody else, ahead of Guyton. I would prefer Latham. Obviously, I want Fatanu. I really want Mims as well. Either of those guys, I want a little bit more than Guyton. I would even take Graham Barton over Guyton. But in the case scenario it's in, Guyton happened to be there. And I do feel like the 49ers do go offensive tackle with this being the board, with no cornerback who's worth a first-round pick here. Maybe a team early in the second round calls to trade up. If this is the board, I would probably trade down. Otherwise, though, I do feel like the Niners should trade up to try to get an offensive tackle. I'm not going to yap too much about the Niners because go follow the Gold Rush podcast where I'll talk more about what the 49ers do at pick 31. If you're a Niner fan, I'm going to go more in depth on that. So, yeah, I'm going to just kill it right there. Tyler Guyton at 31. Not the biggest fan of it, but the Niners, they've got a lot of options to do there. And then at pick 32, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs going Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle out of BYU. Again, more of a prodigy type guy. I've seen a lot of people put him in the third round. I've seen a lot of people putting him, going to the 49ers, going to the Chiefs, as I do here. I do feel like the Chiefs are another one of those teams that go offensive tackle, depending on what the board is looking like. If a A.D. Mitchell is there, if a Keon Coleman is there, if a Brian Thomas is there, I think that the Chiefs go with one of those guys. But I don't really feel like Xavier Worthy is a worthy pick at 32 for the Chiefs because they already got Hollywood Brown. Do you want another small, speedy type of guy? And then Ladd McConkey, I don't think he's worth the first round pick. So that's why I didn't have them going receiver here. He's, again, he's a little smaller, but he's quick. He's got that route running. He might be the best route runner in this class. I really didn't know, again. I mean, the two teams that played in the Super Bowl, I didn't really know where they go. I'm sorry. But there's a lot of options for them to go. Alrighty. Bye. That's going to round off this episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I love the draft. Welcome, rookies. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to cover when the draft officially happens. Hopefully I can get another mock draft out. I only really did like the big trades, I guess, kind of. I had the Arizona Cardinals. I'm sure there's going to be more trades, more guys that are going to be coming up, more guys that are going to want to move down come actual draft day. But overall, yeah, that's it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Run Amok. Hope you enjoyed the mock draft. If you're watching on the YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. If you're listening on Spotify, when you reach your destination, go on the YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, please. I would appreciate that. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up, folks. Check out the description, all the socials and good stuff down there. Alrighty, peace out.